Hey guys, Ryan from the Mavericks, mavericks.goldwinandsons.com. This is podcast episode 39. And today we're talking about what you should do after you get to the landing of understanding and determine that the climb is worth it. So remember, instead of seeing the entrepreneurship cycle as joyful because you have started the business, and then anxiety ridden because you are seeing how difficult the climb really is, and then hitting the valley of despair where you consider quitting, look at it as if you have started a business, you've climbed a mountain, and now you're reaching the first landing point, the first landing. And this landing is called the landing of understanding. So it's not the valley of despair, it's the landing of understanding. It is where you first are able to take a break and realize that the climb that you are about to engage in is far longer and requires far more of a sacrifice than you expected. All right, fair. If you decide to climb down the mountain, absolutely cool. But if you decide to stay in the game, the first thing that you gotta target is cash flow. Now, obviously when you decide to go forward, before that, what you would have remembered to do is you would have remembered the vision for which you started this business, right? And you would have determined that this vision was worth the fight. This vision was worth the climb. So the first thing you gotta do is you got to change your cash flow position. Most times a business is going to go close because of a cash flow problem. And what I mean by that is they are spending more than they're earning. And this is like the rest of the population, right? The majority of the population lives in debt. They borrow more than they earn. And most businesses start to get into this habit. I did. I mean, I certainly did, because when I got access to capital that I thought granted me permission to spend, I developed a habit of spending more than I actually had the capacity to afford, with the hopes that every time I spent, I was investing in something that would return to me an income in the future. That was not the case. Understand that business is not a guessing game. Business is not you throwing things out there and then trying to wonder if it'll work. And I'm talking about large amounts of money. Business is not about taking large amounts of money and testing it out there to see if it works. Business is about taking small amounts of money, testing to see what works, and then once you determine from data what is working and what is not, then taking a big lump sum of money and firing it off in the direction that you believe is going to work. This idea is called bullets than cannonballs, and Jim Collins is the one who came up with it. So essentially it's the idea, you have enough gunpowder to hit the ship, your enemy ship. Let's say you're a battleship and there's an enemy battleship, and you got a certain amount of gunpowder to attack that battleship. You have enough gunpowder to launch one cannonball. Are you going to launch that one cannonball and risk missing that ship? No, what you're going to do is you're going to fire small bullets and try to adjust and calibrate your aiming so that when you do hit the ship with the bullets, then you put the remaining gunpowder into the cannonball and boom, fire it off so that it hits the ship in one direct shot. And so the founders of HP came up with this idea where you test, and then when you find something, you mortgage the farm. You go big and you launch the big target. You launch the massive project with a big investment, knowing that the data points show that it's going to work. All right, but back to my point. Business is not a guessing game of large amounts of money. And most people, when they start a business and they start getting a license to spend, use their money and risk it on gambles that they hope will return to them in income in the future, right? And that goes back to my point. Business is not a guessing game. You need to be able to risk small amounts of money in order to collect data so that when you do fire the large amount of money, you're going to get a return for it, right? But most people don't do this. Anyway, so you want to repair your cash flow. And so what that means is you want to first pick up the book called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. And that book is transformative. The idea behind Profit First is that when you earn your revenue, you take a portion of your profit out and you put it into your business, into like a business account. And you hide that money away. You treat that profit as if it was a cost, right? And then the rest of the money is what you use to pay your operational expenditures. Now, follow me here. In the book, one of the most blaring concepts that stuck out to me was the fact that If it took me $1,000 to run my business, then could I survive off of $990? And the answer is yes, right? Like if I can survive off 1,000, then I can easily survive off $10 less. $10 less of 1,000 is 1%. Now, if I take my revenue and I take 1% out and I put it towards profit, this does something powerful. First, it allows me to spend on my business virtually what I had before. I mean, $990 and 1,000 is not that big of a difference. But the difference is that my new account, my profit account, now has $10 in it. It's gone from 0 to $10, and that's an infinite growth. And what will happen throughout the months is as I set aside 1%, 1%, 1%, this account starts to get larger and larger. And yet, I'm still able to run my business. So what has this proven? That your business can be cash flow positive and can be profitable as long as you put the money away. The problem is most people see $1,000 in their inbox, right? Or their income account. And they're like, I have $1,000 to spend to test. No, you don't. I have only $990 to spend because $10 has gone over to profit. Now here's the thing. If your rent at your brick and mortar business, say you have one, goes up by $10, would you pay it? Of course you would. You would just treat it like a cost, right? And it disappeared. You wouldn't go back to your landlord and say, hey, Mr. Landlord, Mrs. Landlord, I can't afford that $10 expenditure that I gave you on top of rent. Can you give it back to me? Or you wouldn't go to your credit card vendor and say, you know, I paid all my bills, but I don't think I can afford, I think I need that money back to pay something else. Can you give me that money back and I can pay you back later? No, you can't do that. Once the money is gone, it's gone. The problem is we do not treat our profit in the same light. We put profit into this profit account, right? And then we say, you know what? I'm running out of money. Let me take from that profit account. And you know what you've just done? You've stolen from yourself. You've stolen from the lifeblood of your business and said to yourself, I am not worth being paid. I am not worth this amount that was reserved for me. Only my business is worth this amount. And so you take, and what most people do is maybe they have a profit account. They let it build up and then they take that money and they reinvest it back into the business. And then their spirits fall. Because when you hit the landing of understanding, which comes across as despair, the valley of despair, you're depressed. You're depressed because you have no money to show for all the effort you put in. But in reality, yes, you do. You did have money sitting in the profit account, but you reinvested it. And it's gone. It was gone into the whole quagmire of your business operation. And so now you can't see the profit you were actually generating. You can't see that you were actually successful this whole time because this profit money that belonged to you got taken up by your business. You didn't treat it like a cost. And so what you want to do is you want to treat your profit like a cost, like it's gone. And so you move that account, you move that money over to an account that is very difficult for you to access. And then once a quarter, you check out that account. And what do you see? That there's profit in that account. That your business actually has money in the account. Because you didn't use it. That's the key. You treated it like a cost in the beginning and it was gone. And then 3 months later you saw it and there was the treasure waiting for you. You earned it. That's yours. That's the money owed to you. And now you've become more lenient. You're able to run your business off of $10 less a month than you did before. If your operational expenditure was $1,000, right? You're able to run off 1% less. Okay? And here's the goal. So you're running off 1% less. So 1% goes to profit, 99% goes to operational expenditures. Every 3 months, what you want to do is you want to increase the percentage that you put away to profit by 1% and thereby drop the amount that you're spending in OPEX by 1%, right? So now instead of spending 100% on OPEX and instead of spending 99% in OPEX, you spend 98. So instead of running off of $990 a month, you run off $980. That's not so bad. And you take the $10 that you were putting away to profit, and now you take an additional $10. Now you're taking $20 out per month, and you're putting it towards profit. And what will happen is you'll look, and it won't even hit you that much, right? Like, what's the difference between $1,000 and $980? Not much. But another 3 months pass and you raise your profit up by 3%, by 1%, so now it goes up to 3%, and you drop your OPEX down to 97%. What's happening? You're becoming more efficient, but in a very methodical process. And now, after about a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, you start to notice that your OPEX is going down 95% to 90%, and your profit is going up 5%, 10%? Your EBITDA, your triple net, your bottom line is 10% when before you were cash flow negative? That's unbelievable. All because you were slowly and methodically raising your profit and leaning down your operations. And so you start to ask yourself, as you start to decrease your operational expenditure, as you decrease the percentage allocated to operational expenditures, you ask yourself, where can I lean out my business? Am I spending too much on salaries? Am I spending too much on utilities? Am I spending too much on rent? You can even negotiate rent if that's possible. Actually, it is possible. Just say it's possible and work on it. Am I spending too much on insurance? Am I spending too much on utilities? I said utilities. Telecom. You just have to ask yourself, what are the things I can lean on? And what starts to happen is you develop a CEO's ability to actually lean down the business and increase profit. And you become cash flow positive. And so, again, when you get to the landing of understanding, you're not a failure. You have just gotten to the point where you realize how big the climb is. And the goal now is to stay alive as long as possible. And you can only do that if you are cash flow positive. And above that, if you are paying yourself, if you're rewarding yourself for the risk that you are taking in doing this business. And that is called profit. And so what you want to do is you want to set up your business in a profit first model. You want to be able to take profit out of your income every month and allocate it to an account that you cannot access to prove to yourself that you have the capability to accrue a profit while leaning down your operations. And if you notice that you do not have enough money to run your business, then guess what? You never had enough money to run your business, even before you took the profit out. So what did you do to account for that? You borrowed money. All right, you borrowed money. That's okay. You borrowed money to cover your losses. Well, now you might have to borrow $10 more to cover your losses. $10 more is not much. $20 more is not much. But the key here is, now you can ask yourself, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this debt. I'm sick and tired of this loan that I keep taking every month, right? I'm going to try and fix it. And you're going to learn how to reduce your operational expenditures you're going to learn how to increase your sales so that you can cover your OPEX, and how to lean out your OPEX so that the money that's put in there is enough to cover your business. And you become a better business owner. You become a better business owner because you know how to increase revenue and cut costs and thereby keep the profit for yourself, because that's the goal of business. You want to stay alive long enough to serve as many people as possible. And for that, you need profit. You need to be cash flow positive. And that's the first thing that needs to happen after the landing of understanding. Get cash flow positive. So read the book, Profit First, Michael Michalowicz. I promise you it will change your life. It changed mine. It changed my whole perspective of business. And now I realize all business is doable. All right. So this is Brian from the Mavericks, mavericks.goldwynandsons.com. I hope you join us. My goal is that if you get to the landing of understanding, my goal is to prevent you from quitting. My goal is to help you climb up that mountain so that we can all get to the peaks of the mountain that we're all trying to aim for together. mavericks.goldwynandsons.com. I'll see you there. Take care.